Edit.
Welcome back to our Counterpoint series. My name is Professor Lindsay, and in today's video we're exploring the exciting world of Second Species Counterpoint. These next steps are going to build on the foundation of First Species, adding more rhythm and allowing for controlled dissonances. In Second Species, you'll learn how to craft two notes for every note of our cantus firmus, while maintaining a balance of consonants and carefully placed passing tones. By the end of this video, you'll have the tools to create richer, more dynamic counterpoint while following these timeless rules. Let's dive in. Before we jump into the details, let's do a quick recap of First Species Counterpoint. As you might recall, the first species we work 1-to-1 ratio, meaning that for every note in the cantus firmus, we write one note in our counterpoint. The focus here is on consonances only, avoiding any dissonances, while keeping motion smooth and avoiding parallel perfect intervals. If you're not familiar with First Species, I recommend checking out my previous video where I cover this in detail. Now let's move on to Second Species Counterpoint, where things start to get a little more interesting. In Second Species, we write two notes for every one note in the cantus firmus, typically half notes of our counterpoint for every whole note of the cantus firmus. The first note of each pair on the strong beat has to be consonant with the cantus firmus, just like in First Species. But on the second note, on the weak beat, this can be a dissonance as long as it's resolved by step. So that means passing tones and neighbor tones. This is how we start to introduce a sense of tension and resolution. Just remember to avoid parallel perfect intervals between strong beats, as these can detract from a sense of melodic independence between voices. When writing Second Species, here are some tips to keep in mind. We're going to use stepwise motion as much as possible to create smooth lines. When we introduce a leap, we're going to resolve it by step in the opposite directions. And we're going to keep an eye on our intervals, consonances on strong beats, and carefully placed passing tones are going to help our counterpoint really sing. Let's see how this plays out in an example. We've got our cantus firmus on the bottom in this top example. Again, I'm going to first get a general sense of what do I think is the harmonic shape of this cantus firmus before I start composing my counterpoint. So I see kind of tonic with a consonant skip to the E, a subdominant between like re and fa. I see a dominant to perhaps a tonic substitute like a deceptive cadence, back down to a 4-5-1 subdominant dominant tonic shape. So if I began with a perfect fifth, I could kind of keep so in my counterpoint line, doing a voice exchange in the second voice where I go from fa to re instead of re to fa. I'll come up to a sixth on my dominant. That tonic substitute, maybe I'll do a straight up subdominant chord here, though I kind of don't like that. And then I could go to a D to a re, ti, do. Let's see where we've landed as far as intervals vertically. I'm starting off with a fifth, then a third, followed by another third, sixth, 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 third, to eighth. One thing I have an issue with is I have a lot of sixths in a row, so I don't love that. How about we change this third sixth, but instead make a contrary motion so that we don't have an overabundance of sixths in a row. I'm going to change these last two. So let's make this a la, ti, do. This still works, now parallel thirds, and then we'll expand to the octave here with ti, do to make an octave there at the very end. So this makes a lot more sense, and we're not overusing sixths. So this is my consonant framework. So it's very important that even though we can do two notes against the cantus firmus, I'm trying to maintain strong structural note against note rule on my strong beats, and then I can decide to do consonant skips or dissonances on these weaker beats, on these off beats. So if I'm hanging up here by G, I'm just going to do a neighbor up above so I can come back down to the G before perhaps doing a consonant skip afterwards on the tonic chord. I realize I'm doing eighth notes, even though those should be quarter notes. Those should be quarter notes, so bear with me. We're going to fa, and I want to go from fa down to re. Passing motion makes a lot of sense. I know that I originally thought this was going to be a dominant chord, but instead this is like a 1-6-4 chord, and then fa passing to so, over to la on that 4-6 chord. And then maybe we can change up, because we have a leap down, I'm going to be a little bit stuck going from fa to ti. We could maybe change up my melody a bit, have it go up to la, do on that 4 chord, and then ti with a consonant skip, ti, re, do, and step down. Again, this is a similar motion at the very end, but it's by step in the soprano, so that's okay. I suppose we could also go ti, do, do, and make that an anticipation. You don't see anticipations as much in Second Species. Mostly we're just singing passing and neighbor tones. Here's how it sounds. here's how it sounds if we did an anticipation at the end instead of that chordal skip from T to re to do. Not bad. How about you take a look at the bottom one and see if you want to do a similar thing. I'm giving you the cantus firmus this time on the top. Pause the video, compose your own counterpoint line, and then we'll compare. So this cantus firmus sounds like this. We're in C minor. It's our first minor example. So I see us being in C minor. So that me, so, I think is being kind of like a tonic leap. Then down to do, me, so, do, all that's this tonic. We'll treat that re as like a dominant passing motion. Me to fa, let's treat that as tonic to subdominant. Re, both of those we'll treat as dominant, and then resolve to tonic at the end. So let's see ways to harmonize this. I'm thinking that we could perhaps treat this with, thirds in the bass. I'm going to have this maybe be a descending bass line. So a third moving by step to a sixth, then a third again in the soprano, down to a sixth again. We've got a number of sixths in this bass again. Fa, sol, la is all this moving in sixths with my soprano on top. Let's see if we can find an alternative to all of these sixths there on the bottom. What can I do instead? On that fourth sixth, what if I just raise this up to a third? Meaning kind of like a minor 5. So a 3 to 5 to 1. That's giving us, again, similar motion towards the final octave. So that's acceptable. And what if we did something a little bit more interesting? What if we had this entering on a rest? So it starts on a weak beat with that third, and then we just kind of drive down that bass line. This is going to give it a little bit more of a distinct rhythmic profile. Notice that we're still maintaining consonant notes only in this first bar, using passing motion to connect between lay and fa in the second bar. And then what if we tried to connect something getting to that te? I'm going to be a little bit screwed here by the fact of I don't want to do an anticipation to that te. I want to treat passing motion. I might rewrite my counterpoint line. So now this goes down to fa. We'll keep that extra sixth, sorry. And then this will prepare a motion towards that dominant by the end. So though I don't like that we overuse sixth a bit too much as a structural interval, I don't think it's as prominent because now we have passing motion that's ornamenting this gesture in between. Give it a listen and see what you think. So well done, you've now explored the balance of consonants and passing tones in Second Species Counterpoint. This step added rhythm and controlled dissonance, both essential tools as we move into more expressive species. If you found this helpful or have any questions, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, keep practicing, and I'll see you in our next Third Species video.